Welcome back, sailors. I see that you have returned to my lunar cringe. Today, we'll be looking at some stories about theft, betrayal, and all sorts of other nefarious things. Let's begin. Running tournaments since 2003, I have a lot of stories. The one that continues to come to mind was a large local tournament I attended as a player. One of the rare times I played and not judged. In pools, a lot of games were fun and I was having a great time. Then I hit top 8 and dragged through a slog of bad experiences. The first was a kid I had seen at other events and knew he loved to stretch the rules and was a bit shady with his actions. I had it in my mind prior to playing that I would make him call every step of his actions, shuffle/cut every time I could, and would be very clear in my own actions. I recall calling him out on his actions twice before beating him. The second dude wasn't as bad, but it was during that game I saw the store owner allow a player to bring a scale up to the register, and he weighed packs from boosters. A shitty move by itself, but I realized the open boxes were the same that players were getting as they were eliminated, meaning that scumbag was taking the value out. I called him out on it from my game and he remarked there wasn't a rule against it, and the owner didn't see any harm as weighing didn't work on MTG cards, so obviously Yu-Gi-Oh was the same. Finals, I was playing against the judge's good friend, of course, and I barely lost, needed to draw anything summonable, couldn't in 3 draw effects. When prizes came out, mind you, entry was $20 and they easily had 30 plus people, I got 5 boosters. The winner got 5 boosters and a Spellground playmat. We both looked at the judge and realized the owner was gone, all the rest of the boosters in the store was sold, and that those boosters were literally all that was left, and, surprise, were only rares. No surprise the store shut down a year or so later, which was unfortunate as the closest store from there was at least 25 to 30 minutes away via the highway. In case you were curious, yes, weighing cards works with Yu-Gi-Oh, but seriously, don't. You're not just sticking it to the big Konami man. You're cheating fellow players out of cards. Is the random nature of packs unfair? Sure, this cardboard is pretty much a scam. But everyone deserves to at least have the chance they paid for. The owner sounds like a piece of work, and although I don't wish ill will on others, I am glad he isn't able to take advantage of other players anymore. Speaking of expensive cardboard, let's look at our next story. I move into a new city and go to a new OTS store for locals. There's like 10 guys, all of them seem to know each other already, and then there's me. So I'm feeling really awkward. I lose round 1 and 2, narrowly. Okay, we all have our bad days. So I'm going up against my third opponent, and I'm like, winning is now out of my hands, but I'm still gonna play and have fun. The other guy was not so happy about his losing streak. He wasn't very cordial with me, but whatever, losing sucks. Then after we shuffle and decide who's going first, he tells me, just so you know, I play a proxy in my deck, and I'm like, wait, what? Is that allowed? Then I realize this is round 3, which means both of his past opponents must have allowed this. So I said, okay, whatever, I guess. Then we draw, and before we actually begin, I say, just so you know, I can see the magic cylinder in your hand through your card sleeve. And just as I'm wondering what kind of sleeves these are, that you can see the cards through them, he turns his magic cylinder around to show me that the card is in backward. He says, this is actually World Chalice Guard Dragon, and immediately plays it and goes into his combo, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm playing blind second Madolche, and I OTK since that's what the deck is designed to do. He gets super pissy with me because apparently 5 monsters, all with over 2,000 attack, doesn't equal 8,000. He makes a big deal about how I declared game without adding with a calculator, and I'm like, with my field spell, all of these monsters have over 2,000 attack, but even if I didn't have my field spell, this is enough damage. And he pulled out a calculator and started calculating himself and said, see, it's only 7,600. And I'm looking at him like, how can anyone be so bad at math? I'm just about to get the judge, but I think maybe this really is an honest mistake. And tell him to do it one more time, and I watch him like a hawk. This time, it's over 10,000. What a surprise. Game 2 comes, and he decides to go second, so I can't. OTK. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. I wish I remembered what deck he was running it, but all I could remember was the Guard Dragon. He then gets pissy, but I offer to duel him again just for fun since this is the last round. He agrees but switches to his Blue Eyes deck, which also has more bad proxies. I go to buy some cards, and this is where even more fun begins. So he follows me to the counter and starts watching me buy cards. And I'm starting to get a little sus about this guy following me around, but hey, he just wants to trade. So I offer to look at his binder. You ever look at someone's binder and you can tell exactly which boxes they've bought? Yeah, this guy has nothing I wanted. And when I told him that, he got really aggressive about trading raw for desires. Granted, a common desires I literally just replaced with shiny ones, but still not a fair trade. I offer to sell him the desires, and that's when he starts ranting. Apparently, he lost his job at Walmart, and none of the other Walmarts will hire him. To get back at them, he's stealing stuff from their stores, and in my head, I'm like, the owner is right there. Why are you bragging about stealing shit? Also, if you have no money, why did you spend $5 joining this stupid children's card game tournament? And most of all, why are you telling me all of this? But on the outside, I said, and traded the raw for desires like an idiot because it's a small price to pay to not have to listen to him anymore. Finally, I escape and get to my car. Just as I'm queuing some music up and thanking God I don't have to talk to this guy anymore, I hear a knock on my car window. It's him, and he asks me for a drive home. In my head, I think I'm a girl and he's a stranger I know nothing about. Inviting him into my car is something only an idiot would do. On the outside, I said, ugh. Fine, but only because it's on the way and it's -10 and I feel sorry for you. Don't smoke in the car and don't touch anything. Not only did he insult my music like an ungrateful shithead, but he also proceeded to brag again about how much of a criminal he was. He made a big deal about how careful he is around the police station near his house, and basically he was a f***ing tool. I haven't been back to that local since. Now, OP definitely clarified she felt like an idiot for even agreeing to give this guy a ride. But honestly, I don't blame her. There's a lot of pressure to do the right thing, and the guy was out of a job and needed a ride home. But it was a risk for her given that she didn't know him. Also, proxy cards are definitely not legal. They may be fine when dueling with friends. No need to punish your BFF because he can't afford Dark Ruler no more. But they shouldn't be used in tournaments. Furthermore, I'm fairly certain World Chalice Guard Dragon has never been worth very much. Oh, no, you're the goodest boy. You're worth everything. Sentimental value is worth way more than money. Go play with your crawler, He's one of my favorite cards. What are your favorite cards? Let me know below. Anyway, Guard Dragon just reminded me of our last story today. Let's check it out. Alright, well here's one. I almost had my card stolen and was almost in a fight during a match. It was a tourney at my locals. Me and this guy were the last ones playing in the round and were at the outside tables. This is a small shop inside the mall, so to make room they set up tables outside of the shop. There's still plenty of room for everyone to walk past and stuff, but anyway. Everyone had gone back to the shop to get results and chat. But as me and this guy were finishing up our last duel, this girl comes over. Must have been about 17. She's clearly not the Yu-Gi-Oh type. I don't know if people outside of Scotland know the term, but she was a chav. Anyway, she starts faking interest and asking about the game, then sits on the table, almost on the cards. She starts picking them up off the field and saying, "What does this one do? And this one?" So on and so forth. And I ask her to stop interrupting the duel. She picks up my field spell and says, "What would you do if I ran away with this?" I said, "I would chase you." She said, "Okay," and bolted. She wasn't very fast and I ran right up to her and she screamed and dropped the card. Fair enough. I picked it up and walked back to the table. But in this comes her boyfriend and his 2 male friends who are watching this. I assume from putting her up to this for a joke. He comes right up to me and starts yelling at me, and squaring up to me, another Scottish thing I hope you get. He's yelling, "You can't touch a girl like that," claiming I hit her or some shit, and saying, "Do you want to take this outside?" over and over, trying to get a fight out of me. One of the younger kids from the shop had come out, and I just asked him to run inside and tell the shop owner to call for security. The guy then tries to provoke me now that I'm ignoring him, and pushes my deck all over the table. So I shove him and his friends. Seeing that I'm 23 and much bigger than him, start grabbing his arm and telling him to leave it. The guy's still yelling at me, saying, "You want to go, mate?" as in, fight. I tell him I want him to fuck off, and to go pick up my deck. My opponent has been in his seat in complete shock over this, and I just say, "Call it a draw," and we collect our cards. Security came shortly, and the guys ran away. My opponent was nice enough to give me the win since I was 1-1 and I had board advantage, but yeah. They picked on us because they thought we were just weak nerds, but if you remain calm and do the smart thing, it all works out. Also, before anyone asks it, the field spell was World Legacy Scars, and was like 30 pence. But I ain't letting her take my stuff. World Legacy Scars. Another card that isn't worth much, but it's the principle. Although I don't think you should judge people based on how they look or their regional accent. It was clear this girl wasn't a player when she interrupted a duel and sat on a table full of cards. You just shouldn't mess with other people's property, regardless of value. Furthermore, please forgive my terrible accent. It's hard for a ghost siren who lives on the moon to fully encapsulate human speech. Now, it's time for today's segment of Frequently Asked Questions, where I answer the most pressing of your concerns. Today's question is as follows. How can you read Reddit from space? My ears are extra special and have insanely good Wi-Fi connection. Did you know that NASA has a guest network up here? It's real nice of them to help a lonely girl out. Are you thoroughly drenched in cringe? Or do you need more? Oh, you want more? Then be sure to subscribe so you can hear the melody of my siren song from anywhere. And maybe give us a thumbs up. 1 like equals 1 crawler eye for guard dragon.